I want to welcome you to our first training video on our course on the kick serve and the slice serve. Now in this training video, what we're going to do is we're really going to focus in on what we call the double helix form. Now the double helix really refers to kind of the shape of the movement of the serve on both the kick and the slice, and in fact even on our flat serve. Now if we sum up where we are after our initial course on short power and the integrated serve, what we established was that most of the mistakes people make in serving is that they simply swing too big, too hard, too fast, and also too straight through the ball. So what we found is that really learning to serve better is a matter of learning how to coil more efficiently and how to come to a point where energy is delivered in a very short, powerful burst that integrates every part of the body in a very vertical orientation. So this double helix form is the actual track that we try to manage energy along in order to achieve this short power strike that gives me a great deal of power, spin, control, and also consistently. In essence, what makes you a great server. So why should I spend my time studying this, what seemingly is a very complex notion of a double helix? Well, first of all, I think that we can all agree that the serve is an incredibly important part of the game. Certainly we just look to the pro ranks and this is verified. We see that players with great serves have dominated the tennis ranks over the years, from Ivan Izovich, and certainly Sampras just really dominated almost a decade of tennis almost by the virtue of a serve alone. We see how servers have made, players have made great advancements in their ranking by improving their serve, like Nadal and recently Djokovic. And we see a player like Serena, who recently won Wimbledon, really dominated on her serve. If you look at her semifinal match with Azarenka, I mean, Azarenka was really handling Serena on the baseline rallies, but Serena's serve was just so good that she just kind of dominated the entire field. So of course the serve is an incredibly important stroke. It's the only stroke that's played on every single point. It's the first shot. It sets the table. It is a critical part of the game. So why don't we practice it more? Well, I would suggest that a lot of times we simply we're not sure of what we're doing. We're not very clear about how to make it happen. It is a more complex stroke. There is more winding, there's more twisting. We're going up high into a slightly vulnerable position. So it is a challenging movement, right? But so often we simply talk about the serve in terms of bending and flexing and twisting and then going up and snapping the wrist and following through. And it's not nearly enough. We really do need more information. And this is what this course is about, is presenting more information, giving you more clear principles to follow. So again, you can stay on track and you have a means of mastering these techniques. We've talked about how all power strokes are pushes up. These are drives, pushes, up on the ball. Right, so if I hit a backhand and I want to hit it powerfully, I'm going to push up on the ball, and that upward push is going to give me the spin that's going to control that ball. Now, it's not simply a push, of course. That alone is not going to produce the speed necessary to give me the power in that shot. But what I'm going to do is add coil to it. So we essentially have a coiled, pushing upward action on all of our power strokes. And this is exactly the same on the serve. On a good serve, we say hit up. We're actually pushing up on the ball in the same way we push up on a power ground stroke. We also, like on our ground strokes, have coils to this action. And we have tilts. So it gets more complex, and in that more complex arrangement, we store more energy and speed. So if we think of this upward push, and we've talked about the vertical nature of our serve, that it's essentially an upward action. And I want you to think first of going upward as though you're scaling up a ladder. Now we push up on a ground stroke because the ball's down here. When I've got the ball nearly as high as I can reach, I've got to climb this ladder, get way up there, and then push up on it. Now remember, it's not simply a push-up, but it's also coils and twists. So if we think of that ladder, and now we add twists and little bends here and there, what we actually do is have this kind of circular kind of twisting action that actually represents very much a double helix. And so we're going to look at this double helix form, and we're going to talk about how this is something that you can explore, how to explore it, and how this can be a great source of correcting a lot of the problems in your serve and unleashing a lot of power, control, and spin. So we're going to look at this action, the service action, as though it is kind of this pliable, flexible ladder, like a double helix. And I want you to think of both the front side of that ladder. If, let's say, I'm climbing up this way, I can also climb up from the back side. So I can climb on either side of this ladder. Okay, so it's going to be important that we access both sides of the ladder. Right, and we'll see that at the initial stage, as I start my coil, I'm actually taking a very kind of wide ladder at the base. It's very big. So if you can imagine a ladder that kind of goes up and narrows as it goes up. I'm starting with a wide-based ladder, and I'm coiling it here. Okay, so I turn, and then I start coming up the ladder. And I'm coming up, 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 and now I get to a certain point. We sometimes call this the trophy position here. And again, I'm down. As I'm climbing up, I can feel the pressure down below. I'm climbing up. Right now, when I get to this position, you see I go to the back side of the ladder. I'm actually going from the front and coiling back. And here, boom, I drop now behind my head and into the lats in the back of the shoulders. And now I'm going to start another climb further to continue this climb up. I'm going to take it from the back side. You're going to see a total shift in the way that the muscles are used. Of course, on the front side, I'm using the quads, I'm using the back to lift, I'm using the hips to rotate. And then I come to here, and to get everything to slip to the back, I arch back. And now things fall back here. Now from this position, I'm going to use the quads to push forward and up, rather than back. Here I'm going back and up. Here I'm going forward. So I'm using my chest, I'm using my back, my quads to now go forward. But I'm going forward, I'm scaling on the back side. Right? So most people have trouble in the serve. They stay on the front side the whole time. They go here, and then they go here. And they're just constantly staying on the front side of the body. Right? But a good server will drop to the back side. And we're going to talk a little bit about this shift right in here that creates the switch from the front to the back that allows me to continue in this upward vertical motion with these coils properly by using this very subtle and yet incredibly important move. Now, as I said, we want to look specifically at this move that helps us to reorient from the front side lift going up and back to the back side lift going from the back and going the opposite direction, but upward still. All right, so I want you to think, first of all, on a kind of a simplistic level of how a weightlifter does a clean and jerk. They bring the barbell up, and then they get to a certain level, and then there's kind of a reorientation. The head goes back, the chest pushes, it bends, and the hands kind of twist a certain way, and even the feet shift, so they can continue this push upward, continue to lift all the way out. Right, and this is exactly what we see in the serve, and it's the same movement that allows a tennis player to continue their push up into the serve. All right, and it is a similar thing. Now, of course, we're even more complex with twists to it. When we get into this position, we come here, We start to lift, and then we'll see the head kind of thrown back, and we'll see a turn in the hands. All right, so if you think of a barbell and a twist and a going back over my head a little bit more, right there, and I can feel this barbell kind of twist, again a form-like move. We'll see in that move the racket actually goes from the front side here to the back. And I can just take my racket, put it behind my head, and just dip back and feel this little swirl to get it back in here and continue up from this reoriented position. All right, so this really requires more and more loading or continuation of building in these big muscle groups. You can see as I get to here and I reorient, I'm still really loading and holding energy and things in these muscle groups and keeping the hands extremely passive still. The hands are still coiling, they're not releasing. They're just gently turning back because they're loose and relaxed, and these movements here turn them from the spine. That's what's turning the hands. Right? And then I continue up, and now as I get up into here, boom, the hands finish the things off with a lot of speed, but everything is still engaged in that push upwards. Now, if we look at a server, the typical server, again, staying just on the front side, you get here, and the back's bent a certain amount. They feel that the toss is made, but invariably they're having trouble with the toss, as it's kind of releasing. You're not engaging the big muscle groups to continue. So we end up getting to a certain point, this gets static, and then we get flicky actions coming around in here. So we have erratic toss to begin with. The hit itself from this position and coming around, now I'm staying to the front side and kind of pulling the body down, the head comes down, and now I'm swinging down and across on the ball, swinging through the ball and pulling down. Right, so I no longer keep the energy focused, building correctly in the large muscle groups, and then saving the speed in the small muscle groups for that final moment. So I want you to notice the best servers, Roddick in particular, we'll take a look at it, Sampras, how they come around, bend, get back into here. Now this movement right here, really feel the lower back, backside, head tilts back and turns. Your head should change its view of the ball up in the sky from looking at a certain angle and then tilting back and now changing the angle that I'm looking at the ball from down below. All right. So just work on that subtle little twist in there. This is really going to help you store energy better, save speed in the hand, focus your energy on the hit, and get the correct drive, speed, and spin on your contact. Now I want to give you one other version of this double helix and this pliable folding, bending ladder. And that is kind of a roller coaster track. Now if you think of how we described Rayanich and holding this energy going up and climbing up the series of coils and keeping this ball of energy on track. You could imagine a car on a roller coaster. It stays on that track and it climbs and it continues up. And on our course, we're going through this kind of complex weave, going from big curls to smaller curls, and we're using power from the ground and from our large muscle groups to continue pushing this cart on the track upward. And as we get to the top, as we get to tighter and smaller coils and get further up, we build up speed. Now at the top is where we want to really have a little extra burst to shoot this thing off of the track. That's the actual contact. So we saw Rayanich hold this energy ball and bring it along into these complex series. I've got to stay very flexible with my arms and spine to stay on the track and guide along on the track. And again, very important, as I was describing earlier, that I have a front side of this track and then being able to bend and twist right here to get to the back side and bring it around. This is where people typically lose it, that they get too eager and they get to here and then the track is cut off. That's it. They go off track right there by then just going forward instead of continuing this climb up and continuing the form, staying on track, staying on form, building speed through that complex action, and then having a precise movement with the ball on top. Right, so work on this action. Watch Rayanich. Kind of think of this course that you're following. Try to stay on that course as long as you can, as close to the ball as you can, and resist the urge to try to just simply swing fast and hard at the ball at too soon of a stage. Again, this takes a great deal of flexibility. It takes a great deal more of patience than anything else to really believe that you will have the power that you desire at that final stage. But trust me, if you keep it together, keep the form, keep working on it, you'll get there. You'll have that serve that you're looking for.